Good afternoon and welcome to Football League World TV. My name's Ned Holmes and today I'm joined by Lincoln City fan and Stacey West podcast contributor Jake to discuss the Imps transfer window. Thanks for joining me today, Jake. How are you doing?
Yeah, no worries. No, just another day working from home, so pretty slow one, but hopefully a talk about transfers might cheer me up ahead of tomorrow's game.
Absolutely. It's certainly been a month that's looked to sort of cheer up Lincoln fans after what's been a difficult start to the season, really. Obviously, the playoff final disappointment and a 2021-22 campaign that's been pretty tough with that, as you were saying before we came on air, a few injuries, but a busy January, adding sort of some much-needed reinforcements, certainly at the top of the field. And before we get started, though, just a reminder to everyone, please give this video a like, subscribe to Football League World TV on YouTube, and of course, let us know your thoughts via the comments. We'll speak about some specific players and deals a little later on, Jake. But just to start, I just want to get your sort of general thoughts on the window so far. You know, what were your expectations coming into it, and what have you made of it up to this point?
Well, I think in terms of the summer window, if we're looking back at the summer window, it probably wasn't what we were anticipating. You compare it to the last window that we had in the summer where we brought in the likes of Brennan Johnson, players of that sort of ilk, and then it was a bit underwhelming. We were hinging our hopes on Morgan Whittaker coming in on the last day, didn't work out. And from then on, the first half of the season, we were really short in the attacking areas of the pitch. It didn't help that Tom Hopper got injured. Scully had a bit of a run out of the team. Dan and Lunderloo got injured as well. So we were expecting, and Michael always sort of was consistent in his presses pre and post game, that January was going to be a big window for the club, and flirting ever so close to the bottom four as what we are, or as what we were before the sort of pick up in form. It was needed, and I'm sort of glad that it's been so busy, because at the top end of the pitch, sometimes we just look a bit toothless. But hopefully we've addressed that, and a couple of players that we'll probably talk about in a minute will be able to affect where we finish between now and the end of the year.
Absolutely. Well, as you say, 3 attacking signings made, and it seems that there could be a 4th through the door today. Mm-hmm. Starting off then with Morgan Whittaker, as you say, someone that they wanted to get over the line at the end of the summer, and the deal was then done sort of 1st of January. Obviously, Liam Cullen joined from Swansea as well, but just focusing on Whittaker first, what have you made of that deal?
Really, really impressed. Now he's got a bit of Brennan Johnson-esque about him. And I say that he's just so confident on the ball. He can go past players. I mean, this is based off 3 appearances that he's made for us so far. Been really impressed that he's stuck on the right-hand side, probably not his preferred position. When I used to watch him for Derby under-18s, he was the centre forward. So, yeah, it's been a really good signing, and you could tell that the interest that we had in the summer has definitely helped us in our course of bringing him here again. So, yeah, I think once Appleton sort of gets him to work a bit more tactically, and the fact that if it's not working out for him, he might be able to bring somebody else on, for example. Whittaker might thrive in that environment, but also you can play him through the middle. So, yeah, really happy with Morgan. Really exciting young player, and there's definitely a career in the Championship I would suspect for him, based off the 270 odd minutes that he's played for us so far this year.
Absolutely. As you said, sort of a frustrating end to the summer window, but nice to see a really proactive start, really, to the January window, and something that clearly Lincoln have looked to build off. Another Swans forward, then Liam Cullen, another of the loan signings. I guess you've had less opportunities to look at him so far. But what do you make of that signing sort of overall?
Well, I think he came into the building at the time when we were desperate for strikers. Obviously, he's played a fair amount in the Championship. He played for Swansea in the FA Cup, didn't he, against Southampton a couple of weeks ago. I mean, what could you really expect? He was thrown in at the deep end sort of 2 days after signing, and he started against Cambridge United on Saturday last week. So, I mean, looked really busy, runs around a lot, looks energetic, compressed, looks really tactically intelligent. A different option to the centre forwards we have at the club, as of today. Had a couple of opportunities to score, but meet of. I think even Newcastle United centre forwards could tell you is not the easiest man to score past. So yeah, really promising debut from Cullen. I'm sure once he gets more settled into the team and gets a run of games under his belt, I've absolutely no questions whether he's going to be, a good League One player. And it sort of shows by the clubs that were linked with him. I think Portsmouth were interested as well. So yeah, he's clearly a striker that's got a bit of calibre, and hopefully, on this loan spell he can prove that.
Absolutely, and you talked about it a bit there, that the other clubs linked with him, and a player like Morgan Whittaker, who's clearly quite highly rated, and obviously the defender that's come through the door on loan that we'll talk about a bit later. Do you think there, the Imps are really benefiting from, I guess, the success of the likes of Morgan Rogers, Brennan Johnson, and I guess some players who have now become household names-ish in the EFL. But that's really sort of grown Lincoln in the eyes of everyone as a good loan destination, particularly with Appleton there.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Obviously, for every success that we had last year with Johnson and Alex Palmer to an extent, and Rogers, we also had players that, one player particularly on loan, Callum Morton, that didn't particularly get his teeth stuck in. He's since got moved to the Championship, so fair play to him. But I think it's also, as you say, the manager, Jez George, who's the director of football at the football club. There was a fans forum that we had a couple, I think it was last week, and Jez George thoroughly went through the process of what it takes when we're going to these clubs and trying to get their best young, players off their hands. And they say that by playing in front of a sold-out stadium every week, like Sincil Bank often is such a good way for a player to develop. And you saw that granted the crowds were in, but under Appleton and the playoffs and stuff like that, Johnson really sort of came alive. So yeah, it's good. Obviously, we tend to go after loan players that the clubs aren't willing to let go into League One. They'd rather than go into the Championship. I think the lad that signed for Stoke today from Aston Villa was one that we were quite close to in the summer. Obviously, Villa didn't want him to come down to League One. That's what it is. But yeah, the success of especially Johnson. I mean, I think everyone watched his performance against Arsenal, didn't they? And thought it was absolutely scintillating. We was just sort of so proud of watching him go on and playing like that. So yeah, I think it's massive to have those successes, and also is there a better manager in the EFL for culture and young players the way Michael Appleton does it? I don't think there is in League One. There could be in the Championship, but I think it's just a really good coach that is going to help these loanee players, hopefully, for their long-term careers.
Absolutely. So certainly Appleton has done a fantastic job with those young players at Lincoln so far. We talked at the top of the show, Jake, that sort of the forward areas was where Lincoln needed to strengthen, and obviously the arrival of John Marquis from Portsmouth, an eye-catching addition to the forward line, given his record at this level: 71 League One goals in 213 appearances, and some big scoring seasons. If he's fallen away, obviously, sort of recently at Portsmouth, what do you make of that signing? Is that one you think that the Imps fans are going to be particularly excited about?
Yeah, I think in terms of strikers that were linked, we were linked with a return for Tyler Walker. Obviously, he's gone to fill John Marquis's place at Pompey. Ellis Sims was one that was credited as a rumour. Obviously, that was never going to happen based off what he did last year with Blackpool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, John Marquis is a really, really good centre forward for the level, and he's probably the perfect centre forward as to what we need at the moment. A fox in the box. I tweeted that, and I got a lot of stick off Portsmouth fans by saying, by showing me every single clip where John Marquis was putting the ball 50 rows over the goal. But no, I think he's brilliant. He's an experienced head. We haven't got many of those in the squad that are fit, and I think it's more about having different options and affecting the game. I think John Marquis is a striker that you can play into, and he can hold the ball up as well as being a fox in the box. And then you've got Liam Cullen and Whittaker and Scully, who are players that would like to get in behind. So I think it's more that Appleton's got a bit of a variety, because there were certain games this season where we've had substitutions. We've only had 3 on the bench when we went to Sunderland, and none of them were really attacking changes. We had 3 midfielders, 2 left backs on the bench. So yeah, I'm really happy with John Marquis. Hopefully he can hit the ground running. It's obviously a 6 month deal as far as we're all aware. It's a good idea. opportunity for him to put himself in the shop window for a League One move, or whether the club want to keep him around if he does really well. So, yeah, excited by the, if you'd have said to me 3 years ago that, John Marquis, who was just signed for Pompey for 6 figures, was going to come and sign for Lincoln, for a minimal fee, I'd have chomped your arm off. So, yeah, happy with the sign, and hopefully he can influence the dressing room and results on the pitch.
Absolutely, and we talked about already sort of Michael Appleton's ability at coaching young players, and perhaps sort of breathing some new confidence into Marquis can really help him get back to his best. Finally, then a defensive addition, 18-year-old right back Brooke Norton-Cuffy joined from Arsenal on loan. I mean, often difficult, I guess, with a fairly unproven 18-year-old, but a player from a Premier League club, an exciting sort of looking right back. You've got to be pretty happy with that, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's sort of come that with the emergence of Regan Poole, I think stepping into centre back is probably why we've gone to strengthen at right back. Yeah, I mean, there's not really a lot out there on Brooke. I've got friends who watch the Arsenal Academy quite a bit, and they've said that he's started to play in the under-23s this year, and he's looked okay. Obviously, it's his first loan spell out of Arsenal, so everyone knows that those sort of first loans are very difficult for young players. And I think he only turned 18 last week, so to have someone in the squad that was born in 2004 is actually quite scary for a lot of supporters. But yeah, I mean, it's a case of put him on the pitch and see how he goes. It's not like we've got games in the Papa Johns or the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup that you do in the early years to give him a run out. So it's pretty much going to be right. You're winning the league, and we need to start winning games, which I think is going to be, in the long term, really helpful for Brooke. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it goes. Obviously, you've got to have a certain amount of talent, I think, you to get picked up by a Premier League club. So yeah, the clips are positive, but we'll have to wait and see how he goes in person, because we're a bit sceptical with Premier League loanees based off this year.
Absolutely. We'll move to another player that's been added to Michael Appleton's squad, but not necessarily a new signing. That's defender Max Melbourne, recalled from his loan spell at Stevenage. Jake, do you expect him to sort of be involved in the second half of the season, or is this a case of sort of recalling to send out on loan again? Is it sort of cover? What do you expect really we should see from Melbourne moving forward?
From the situation that I gather at Stevenage, a new manager came in and didn't really take a liking to Max, which obviously, if he's a young player and we're loaning him out to a division below to hopefully for him to get minutes. And the first half of the season, I think he got quite a few minutes. He certainly looked okay when he came on against Sunderland. I think, but as I alluded to off air, we've got so many injuries at centre back. We've got Adam Jackson, who's in a concussion away from ending his season. You've got Joe Walsh, who, as good as a centre half he is, can never get on the pitch. And then you've got the likes of Lewis Montsma, who was coming into his own this year after a good campaign last year, who's done his ACL. And Danny Cowley spoke about this when he was in charge of Lincoln, but to have a left-footed centre-back is so important for the balance of the team. And
yeah,
I think Max coming in as a left-footed centre-back, I think we're probably going to use him between now and the end of the season. I think he'll probably be shipped out in the summer, but whilst we've got injuries in his area and it's another body, I think that's probably also part of the help. We've called games off for injuries and COVID and what the like. I mean, you need as many bodies as you can in. So I think it was the right idea to recall him, and hopefully he gets a bit of use between now and the end of the year before we can either sell him on or put him back out on loan.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly depth this season looks more important, squad depth that is, than really ever before. Well, those are sort of all the sort of confirmed new arrivals. Appleton has said he wants one more attacker, and as per reports today, it looks like that might be Eastleigh striker Ben House. Jake, before we came on air, you said this was a particularly exciting one. What is it about this one that sort of got you going?
I think it's the fact that it's a striker, first and foremost. I think the model that Lincoln City are trying to follow now is one of Peterborough United, where you pluck them out of lower divisions, and then everyone knows that the strikers fetch the most money, don't they? This is not my thinking. Gary from the Stacey West podcast made a video on this yesterday. we're looking for our first £1 million signing, and potentially by bringing Ben House in, who's got good pedigree coming through at Reading, bringing him in and shaping him into a centre forward, and if he can hit the ground running at Lincoln in League One or whatever division we're in, that could be a big sort of money maker for the club. I think that's the way we want to go down. You've seen Peterborough do it countless times. Dwight Gale, Craig McHale-Smith, British Belonga, the list literally goes on. And as close as to Peterborough we are, we've sort of seen that firsthand. So, yeah, I mean, he's got good pedigree, as I say. He's scored a few goals. You look at the comments from Eastleigh supporters, they're upset to lose him. Whether he's going to be involved in the first team as much as he probably wants this year, he might not be. It's just good to have another option off the bench, isn't it? Like I said, we've not been able to fill the bench most of the season. So by having another striker, if Cullen or Marquis isn't working, we can, chuck Ben House on with 20 to go. So yeah, it's exciting. Obviously, it's not confirmed yet, but we're heavily anticipating his arrival. And yeah, I think we're quite excited because the last time we sort of signed a striker out of non-league, from what I can remember. Well, actually, I can't remember. That's how long ago it was. So yeah, it's exciting. Obviously, to hopefully go on and make the club a load of money in the next 2-3 years.
Absolutely. So a busy window so far, and hopefully an exciting arrival in the sense of House to sort of cap things off. Before we move on to sort of talking about potential departures and confirmed departures, just a reminder to any Lincoln fans or EFL fans watching, please do send your comments in and any questions you might have for Jake about Lincoln's transfer window. We do want to hear from you. In terms of departures, then, Jake, of course, both Archie Mayer and Dan and Lundaloo were both recalled by their parent clubs. Obviously, Mayer never really featured, but you disappointed at all to see and Lundaloo go?
I mean, it's a difficult one, really. Like you said with Archie Mayer, we never really got to see him apart from the 45 minutes that they spend on the training pitch before the game. But in terms of Dan, it's a difficult one. He was, again, like I said with Brooke earlier, this was Dan's first senior loan spell. It's a difficult environment for him to come into, based off the success that we had last year as well. I think he was sort of in a hiding to nothing, really. So he performed well in certain games. I can remember going to Wigan and he scored, and everyone thought, right, that's it, Dan's going to go on and score 4 or 5, and it never sort of materialised. And yeah, I think that's a mix of the club really not playing to his strengths, and probably Dan arguably being a bit naive in his first senior spell. And you can see that he's gone to Cheltenham and he's hit the ground running. He scored against Charles, and he scored against on the weekend. So he'll be a good player. I have no doubt about it. But I just feel that the way that we set up and the way that we want our centre forwards to play, Dan and Lundaloo is not that profile of player. I feel like in a Michael Dove system where they play 2 up front, when the ball comes in fast to the centre forwards, I think that's probably better for him, and as it proved his goal on Saturday.
Absolutely. Just looking sort of towards the sort of last 10 days or however long we've got left of the window, are you expecting any other departures? Obviously, there was a lot of noise about the likes of sort of Anthony Scully before the window. That doesn't seem to have materialised. Are you expecting to see anyone else, or is there any players that you'd like to see sort of sold or go out?
I don't think so, purely on the basis of the injury crisis at the club and the fact that we can't really afford to lose anybody else. I think there was a big sort of worry about Anthony Scully. There was a big worry about Josh Griffiths. With the fact that he wasn't granted permission to play in the FA Cup, we were sort of worried that West Brom were going to recall him. Obviously, that sort of didn't come around. So, fortunate to have him around for the rest of the year. But Scully's the big one, really. You look at January transfer windows by, we've lost some big players. I think a couple of years ago it was Toffolo that went to Huddersfield.
Yeah.
It's football that happens, and Scully probably at the start of the season we were thinking, oh God, January's going to be gone, but that injury has sort of kept these clubs away, and he's not been able to sort of he scored against Oxford the other week, but he sort of dropped off a little bit, which is sort of good for us. So, and then Lewis Monsima was one we were worried about as well. He's obviously an eye-catching first year from Holland last season. So, yeah, he was one we were worried about. But I don't think in terms of numbers, I think we've got a few youngsters that can probably go out on loan. Sam Long's a goalkeeper that has come through the academy and played in the FA Cup. He was on loan at games for Trinity earlier in the season, but I think that we probably, if we're going to loan our younger players out, we probably need to loan them to a higher division. No disrespect to Gainsborough, I think they're tier 5 or tier 6. To get these youngsters like Freddie Draper, to get like Sam Long and Sean Rowan, we need them to be playing sort of National League football at the highest, maybe National League North at the lowest. So, yeah, I wouldn't expect us to lose anybody else. Maybe a couple more might come in, but that will be based on Appleton and Jez George hopefully finding the right players so that we can push up towards mid-table.
Well, you mentioned sort of their potential few more arrivals. Just finally, before we sort of wrap up, what are your expectations for the sort of final, for the end of the window, really, and what would you like to see happen in a sort of ideal but realistic world?
Yeah, I think that's difficult. I think, as I say, if we're pretty much saying that Ben House is coming to the club, I think that's enough in terms of strikers. I think we probably need another wide midfielder at this point in time. We've got Hakeeb, who, as we sort of discussed before we came on, has not hit the ground running at Lincoln, is a bit of a scapegoat. You've got Morgan Whittaker and then Anthony Scully, but if we want to change the game, we're sort of looking to put Teddy Bishop on the right wing, or we're looking to put Fiorini on the right wing where they're not as effective. So I think probably another wide midfielder, wide attacking player, maybe a loan from a Premier League club or something similar like we got Scully, a player in the academy that we can pay cheap money for. Probably, if I'm being picky, probably another goalkeeper, with the idea of sending Sam on loan out to a National League North club, just so that Josh can have a bit of competition, and then maybe even a centre back if I'm really pushing it. Obviously, we're used to having small squads at Lincoln. Danny Cowley did the same thing. Appleton's doing something similar. So, yeah, it's hopefully we're a little bit more active. But if we're not, and the window we've had has been quite good, considering where we've been in the league and how far we're underperforming. So, yeah, I'm being quite picky there, but a couple more additions would certainly do nicely.
No, I think that's more than fair enough, given the testing first half of the season for Lincoln. So certainly a satisfactory, if not really pleasing, window for Imps fans so far. Well, that's everything from us on the Lincoln City fan debate today, but there are a few more shows on Football League World TV before we wrap things up for the end of the week. At 3:30 p.m, Marcus Alley is hosting the Plymouth fan debate, while at 4 p.m, you'll be in the capable hands of Alfie Burns, Adam Jones and Ben Wignall for the EFL weekend preview. That just leaves me to say thank you, Jake Bennett, and thanks everyone for watching.